So this video is really to help those who are having troubles trying to set up their Cisco DMM or Cisco show and share using certificates generated by a Windows Certificate Authority. So to start off, we've got our Digital Media Manager here, so we'll just log in to that. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we're going to now first of all generate our certificate to be the request to be sent over to the Certificate Authority. So to do that, we go down to Certificate Management, Manage Sign Certs, and we're going to generate that CSR as we mentioned. So just go ahead and fill in the details as you need to. Put some bits and pieces in here. And that should then go ahead and generate the certificate. Now what it's going to ask us next is to upload that to a FTP server, as you can see there. So you'll need to make sure that you've got availability of a FTP server to drop that onto. And our username and password. It has to have a password. You can't upload to an anonymous FTP. So go ahead and put in your password when it's asked. That will upload the certificate to the FTP server. So the next step is actually to go ahead now and actually get that certificate generated within Windows. So this next section now, we're really going to look at how we can take that CER or CSR we generated to actually convert it into a certificate that we can use within the DMM. Now, whether you can do this part yourself, if you have the web enrollment services as we've got here, you may be able to do this yourself and you can follow these examples. If not, you might need to send that CSR request off to an administrator, but you can use this section to actually tell him how it needs to be formatted. So what we're going to do is request a certificate, and we need to make sure it's an advanced certificate request. And we're going to submit it using a base64 encoded file. So once we get to this screen here, we actually want to browse for that file that we actually uploaded, the CSR file. So I'm going to browse now to this here, which is my CSR. So this is where my FTP server has put it. So I've pulled it off, and now I've just imported that there, and I'm going to submit that. And you can see that the certificate has been issued to me, but it may be, depending on the properties of your certificate authority, you may have to wait for your administrator to send you that certificate, but this one generates it here. We need to make sure that you download the certificate in base64 encoded, otherwise you'll be rejected by the DMM. So base64 encoded and download certificate. So I'm going to just save that as DMM cert. So I'll save that. Now, one thing to note, obviously, when you actually save this certificate, you need to be able to move both this certificate and the next one that we'll talk about shortly into your FTP server so that your DMM can pick it up. We need to download the change certificate, but if you do it from here, you'll actually find you get a problem. So what you'll need to do if you're using the Microsoft CA is actually ask your admin to actually go into Certificate Authority and to actually follow these examples. So if you go to Properties on the certificate server, in the Details tab, copy to File, which brings up the Export wizard. And again, we need to make sure we export it in the correct way. So we just go next on this, and we want to export it in a base64 encoded certificate. So hit base64, we go next, and I'm going to save that as CA cert. You can call it whatever you want, but I'll call it CA cert so I know what it is. So I'll save that too. So both those files, the certificate, the change certificate, and also the CSR certificate that's been generated, they need to be saved in the root, so that or the root of your FTP server, so you can actually upload that later on. So we're going to go back now to the DMM and see how we can upload this certificates that we've just generated. We're going to head back now to the DMM to import those certificates that we've just generated. So again, go ahead and log back into the DMM. We go back to certificate management, manage sign certificates, and then we want to go to import certificate. So yes, we're going to import and it will overwrite the certificates if we've got self-cert ones, for instance. So again, we use the same FTP server, or an FTP server where we've actually moved those or copied those certificates, both the DMM one and also the CA certificate, into the directory, to the root directory. And again, make sure you've got a password, otherwise it won't let you do that. It then asks us for the path to these certificates. So mine was DMM cert.cer and CA cert.cer. So we'll go ahead and import those, and what that'll do now is start to download those certificates from the FTP server and start to upload those onto the Digital Media Manager. And what you should see is their certificate import succeeded, restarting system services. So the majority of the time that we get certificate issues is because they haven't been generated in the right way. So just to remember to follow the steps that we've outlined here, and that should help you to install certificates from a Windows CA authority.